YouTube, and we're also live.
Pushing all the things live.
Go live. Let's see. Go live.
Yeah.
Perfect. We're live.
We are live.
So,
We're all
yeah,
set? Are we set?
everything's working. Yes,
Is it showtime?
Yeah, let's do it.
Live from San Francisco, it is Monday morning. Good morning, good evening, good afternoon.
Hey guys.
Like I said in my very cold, but I'd say warm open, maybe not so cold. I don't know why they call it a cold open.
Yeah.
I felt like I was very warm.
You were very heartwarming.
Yeah.
Very together.
I think so. We are coming to you live from San Francisco,
Yes.
and as you guys may or may not know, I'm Lindsay Munro, and I work on the social team for Adobe XD. And joining me is my co-host,
Demian
partner in
Borba,
crime.
Strategic Development Manager for XD. I was one of the first product managers creating this awesome tool. And today we have
A very special guest.
Yes, so I'm Ash Wong. I am a designer, a senior experience designer on the XD product. So, hello.
Wonderful. Yeah, so we're showing a lot of cool stuff today. We have information on the contest. We have our sneak for the new month.
Yes, we have a sneak for you people, so stay tuned.
And Ash will give us a crash course on typography, right? Like to help designers pick the right fonts and go from there. All right,
True.
so first, let's talk about the contest.
Contest, yes.
So let me switch to Ash's computer. And here, this was the contest, why we asked people to come up with a sign-up screen using XD and share that on social media using the hashtag Adobe XD UI Kit and contest. And using the pet sitting UI Kit from
It's called
Megan.
Podtastic.
Okay.
Officially, the Podtastic UI Kit.
Very cool UI Kit.
Lots
really,
of e-commerce elements.
really well designed. And we randomly selected
A winner. It's true. And
Well,
that winner will
the winner
be the recipient of
of-
a 13-inch MacBook Pro with
Wow.
a touch bar.
The
The
brand new
fancy one,
one,
guys. We didn't
yes.
cheap out on this one.
Yeah.
And we also are pairing that with a 1-year Creative Cloud subscription, so you can like get your hands on Adobe XD and all of the other apps that we offer.
Photoshop, Illustrator, Premiere,
The list is
everything for
extensive.
1 year. Yes.
Yeah.
And the winner is
Dun dun dun.
Rick Butterworth.
Rick Butterworth.
Awesome. And he created this very nice set of screens, and Ash can show us there.
Yeah, should we just walk
Yes,
through?
do
Let's
it.
see. Podtastic.
So for those of you who've actually dug into the UI kit, it's for desktop. So this is a really cool adaptation for a mobile app. Look at this.
So all the basics, putting in info, signing up, cute kitty,
It's true.
Could be
The
that.
pet names really do it for me, honestly.
the human profile. I like the specification there.
Just in case, you know. You need the pet details too. I mean, totally. It's a real thing.
All the details.
All the details.
This pug is pretty luxurious.
It's a
Yes.
fancy pug.
That's
Awesome.
a good one.
Living the life.
Uh-huh. You can select your pets.
Look at that.
Many pets need sitting.
Do any of you have any non-dog, cat, or bird pets?
I
No,
don't. I have two
I
cats at home. In fact,
I hope
one
to
of
get
my
one
cats
soon.
made it to this UI kit.
Oh,
So
look
Oh,
at that.
really?
you gotta spot it. She's UI kit famous. She's very fluffy. I
We all
probably
That's
probably got some
awesome.
of her
I
hair
know.
on me now.
I was
It's a real
furiously
thing.
de-hairing. I
It's
have
true.
a dog at home.
I know. I insist on continuing to wear
Oh,
black
look at that.
despite
Look
the
at
odds.
that. It's so, that's so
pretty good.
positive, right?
It is
Like,
very. I
gives
do
it-
feel better about
really
it being
good.
Monday.
Yeah.
Yeah, pets do that to you. That's so true. All right,
Rick,
so
you're
congrats,
awesome.
Rick.
We'll be contacting you via Twitter, and we'll get your address and details, and we'll get you that fancy new laptop so you can keep creating cute, magical apps involving pets.
With all the Adobe tools there, which is even better.
true.
And I heard there's a new thing coming up, new contest maybe.
Oh, yes. Okay. So we're going to be a little hush-hush about this one. But
Mysteries.
there may be a new UI kit coming out. There may be a challenge to support it very soon. Where, if I were you, I might check out the Adobe XD Twitter account on Wednesday morning at 6 a.m. Pacific time for full details. But that's just a guess.
Awesome.
So we'll wait and see what happens.
Awesome.
How mysterious.
I know,
All
right?
right.
Got to keep things vague.
So congrats, Rick. We're going to reach out to you. Stay tuned. And now let's talk typography.
Yeah.
What do we have for us?
So we're going to get a little type nerdy today. Basically, the structure of this lesson is going to be showing you basically how I pick one typeface and then how I match two typefaces.
Oh, nice.
And then many typefaces, so creating a system and how XD helps you do that.
Is it recommended to go over to
You can do whatever
Oh, nice.
puts the air under your wings.
Awesome.
Wow.
Awesome.
We are
But
smashing
yeah,
rules.
we're going to get pretty nerdy with it today.
That's good.
So first, we're going to look at how to pick one typeface and also chime in with questions or anything if
Yes.
any of you have any, but we'll definitely have some
Yeah,
time
this,
at the end.
this is
for
really
that.
important. Like we forgot to mention, this is really for you guys. So if you have questions for this presentation or for anything related to XD, please ask, and we
Sure.
can answer right now.
We also
Awesome.
have some folks tuning in from all over the world, which is great. We got Canada, we got India, we got, I think, Sevilla.
Oh,
Yeah.
Sevilla.
Yeah, there we go. I think I thank you for correcting my pronunciation of that. Thanks, everyone, for tuning in. We always love it.
Awesome.
All right, let's see it.
All right, so there's two ways I look at a typeface when I'm looking at them personally, and the first is looking at the bones, second the skin. So what I mean with looking at the bones, you can go into a lot of nerdy type anatomy stuff, which is probably what you see if you Google, but this is really the two things I look for. So the first thing you'll see here, we have three different faces, super different feels. The first thing I look for is actually something called the X height. So you'll see here, we're just going to draw a little rectangle. Let's make this nicer color and maybe translucent.
Stands out.
Yeah. So you'll see here there's something called the X height, and that's basically where all these guys hit.
Mm-hmm.
And so you'll see on these different typefaces here, all of these have very different X heights.
Yeah.
And so the thing you're actually looking for is the proportion of the X height to, let's see if we can do this, the actual height of the top. So that's like anything, it's like a T, an H, a B. And Lindsay was commenting earlier, she's like, hamburger-vons, that's interesting.
Hamburger-vons, yeah.
The reason that we use hamburger-vons, this is almost like a type lorem ipsum, where it shows off like a good assortment of the letters.
Oh, look at that little trick.
So yeah,
Nice.
that's
All the things.
usually what I'll type in when they have the little samples. But you'll see here the
Just
proportion.
when you thought like the word hamburger was a sin in design.
I know.
Right? It's like it sneaks its way in there every time somehow.
I know, hamburgers are great.
So, not too cheesy.
Well
Oh,
punned.
look at that.
This is going to be a great Monday.
Oh my
You can always count
gosh.
on me for the dad jokes.
That's my favorite. And so you see here, this one has a much higher X height, where you'll see the proportion of this guy to the height here. You can start to see like this is a lower X height.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's one factor of readability, but it's not like the only one. But things that have higher X heights do tend to be more readable. But there's a lot of other factors, but that's just like one quick trick.
Yeah, I was learning the other day that our brains are really trained to read like camel case and not capital.
Mm-hmm.
So sometimes we don't even read; we just look at it and we know what the word is.
Yeah,
because we're
yeah.
trained.
They have those like tricks where they like flip words around or like switch out letters and
Yeah.
you can still read
So
things really quickly.
That's why
Yeah.
books don't have like capital letters all the time, because it's harder to
Yeah.
read. Our brains are not trained for that.
Yeah, and all the typefaces are designed for that sentence case and camel case because that's how the reading works. So
Cool.
the other thing to note when I'm looking at a typeface is the width of the typeface. So you'll see here, this one's really skinny, this one's really fat, this one's very geometric and perfectly round. So the way to actually assess that super quickly is to just look at the O's. So you'll see here, this O is a perfect circle.
Mm-hmm.
This one's like a little fatty, and then this one's very, very skinny. And so that's kind of how you can tell, and that'll become important later when we're looking at typefaces. The other note is that most typefaces are display or body, and that's really important with readability, because readability is the thing. So
Or
Yes.
text, right?
yes.
Yeah.
So this guy is a display face. So you'll see the title looks like really fancy and nice, but
Understood.
when you start to read this, it looks really, really crazy.
That's terrible.
Yeah, but a face that's designed for paragraphs or text or body, this is something you'll want to use for like larger pieces of text. Not that to say that you can't use that for titles as well. That actually makes like nice titles and keeps it so you only have to choose one typeface. But yeah, that's just something to watch out for in the name.
What's your like size limit when you make the transition from text body to display?
So I do something called the Squint Test. I do it kind of more instinctually. And you'll see here, if you squint at the screen, you'll see that if you look at the large marsupials of this left hand, you can clearly see that that looks darker than this.
I see.
I hope you're all at home squinting at your screen right now like us.
I do that all the time too, yeah.
You just go way back. Turn the brightness down.
I do like how the fatter, wider font has like little kangaroo pockets almost. Like it does really like live up to the marsupial.
Oh, that's a new feature request for XD, right? We can make it blurry
Just
to
the-
to
Oh
help
yeah,
with
be
that.
like simulate. Yeah, because in Photoshop they have color blindness simulation.
They do,
yeah.
yeah.
So I can
That's
do
cool.
like
The
don't
Squint
have
Test.
broke my glasses.
Squint
a la
Test feature.
that movie The Mummy.
I mean, you know, it is April 2nd, so let's talk about only real features today.
I know April 1st on a weekend is really a relief.
Yeah.
Okay, so the second thing, so that was the bones. This is the skin, which I like to call it, and that's looking at actually like the little features that kind of like decorate almost or don't decorate the face. So you'll see here, there's a lot of features. We'll zoom in a little bit. You'll see here, this is like really geometric. It is very round and even. So you'll see all the stroke weight is completely even all the way around. And here you have all these little decorations almost. You have like these cutout features and everything. This little like smiley E, which is just like the happiest
That is the
looking
happiest
guy
E.
ever.
That is the
Isn't it
happiest
just like-
That's so awesome, yeah.
Most content. Yeah.
Like a troll.
And this one's like really condensed, but also really stark. And the reason we look at these like more like skin features is that it can give us a lot of cues into that typeface. So you'll see we have 3 more here. So that gives it certain characteristics. So something that's really geometric and clean has a certain feel to it. So it's like, oh, this feels very like medical or like blue collar or worker related.
Sharp.
Something that's here is more like, you know, this has a lot of history in like being
So
typewriter
true.
face. So
It's got a vintage feel.
exactly, if you want to harken back to a vintage era, if you want to make this
Hipster
feel
songs.
like exactly. If you want to make this feel like a Tumblr
Although it's not
blog.
really a song.
More
Yeah.
scientific,
But
yeah,
yeah.
more research.
Yeah, and then something more like this is a little more classical, so it might be a little more like expensive or classy because it harkens back to like a much older era.
Interesting.
Yeah,
Very
so
cool.
those are kind of the things that I'm evaluating when I look at a single typeface.
Very, very cool.
Typist personality.
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Do you have like websites or more
Well,
places
of course
for people
I use
to learn?
Typekit.
Oh yeah, you know.
But
like,
actually,
for people to learn
Typekit has a
about.
lot of really convenient. Let me just switch over.
Yeah, I think
and
most
see if
people
we
don't
can-
even realize that Typekit is included with their Creative Cloud
Yeah.
subscription.
And so if we just go to browse here,
It is
they
so
actually
powerful.
have a lot of these. Here's where you can say, you know, all these historical features. So if you want something more old school, or you want something kind of like in between, that's kind of like, hey, look here, see, like that era, or even like any of these. But you can go here, and this is exactly what we're talking about. Paragraphs or headings. So if you want to find something that's more
Oh, nice.
display or more paragraphs. So Typekit
Very
teams
cool.
definitely thought of all of that
They've done the Squint
along
Test.
with these guys that we were just talking about. X height, so you know, high X height, low X height. Oh, okay, apparently can't do that. It's because it's not readable.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that makes sense. That makes sense.
Remember, this is
Yeah.
for humans, right? Like
This
this is
is,
for
this
people,
is,
not for
yeah.
for the fancy designer. It has to be good for people to read.
Yeah, and you can do all these. You can even do hamburger.
This is so
This is
cool.
now my new favorite
There
word,
you
actually. I
go.
feel like
Look at that.
this belongs on a t-shirt.
And I saw recently that on Adobe Capture, our mobile app,
Yes.
you can take a picture of any text, and it finds a similar font for you to use in Typekit.
True story.
And you can sync into your Creative Cloud, and then it shows up here, and you can start using it.
Yeah.
Very cool feature.
useful.
Adobe
Very
Capture.
convenient.
Just download it for free, and you can do a lot with that little app.
Yeah, there's
There's
a
a lot
lot
of
in
it.
there. It's
Yeah,
like
there's
real
way more than
intense.
even just that. Yeah,
that's like a
it's
whole
crazy.
other half hour.
Yeah,
I feel.
one day.
Yeah.
Get there, guys.
We should do one. Yeah, let's do a
Yeah,
stream
we
on
should, we
Capture.
should, we
Cool.
should.
Okay, ready for the second part?
Yes.
All right, so here's a bunch of couches. The reason I'm showing you this is because matching typefaces is a lot like home decorating. So the well-worn advice is if you have like a couch you love or like some rug you love, what you do is you decorate around that object.
Yes.
And so it really cuts down on the variables because I think it's really easy to get overwhelmed by choice.
Less solutions, yeah.
And if you can find something that's like perfectly capturing the brand or like something that you love, then from there it's really easy to be like, okay, this is what we're basing everything on. This is our anchor, and then we're kind of gonna pick the faces that come after
great
it.
Approach.
So let's go with something that's more like this blue velvet couch.
I like it. It's classy.
It is classy, very on trend right now. So say this is our sofa, right? We have this serif, classic looking guy. So let's do the exercise of looking at the X height. So you'll see here, we'll just draw a rectangle. So here, this is the X height. And then this is the total height. So it's almost half and half, which is really interesting. And if you look at this O here, let's just move one of these. You'll see that it's almost geometric, almost completely round, but it's not quite there. So these are two important cues with matching. So we can look through all of these and see how they go. So, all right, this is participatory.
Is this a
No,
test?
I'm really interested. Yeah.
Okay.
So
focusing.
this O, really, really round.
Very round.
This X height, super high.
Yeah.
So this is actually not the greatest match. So we're just gonna like kind of toss this over here. What about this guy?
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, so this guy is like relatively geometric. The X height's close. However, you'll notice with the skin, it has almost the same style where this is a very classical serif and this is a slab serif.
Do you look for that
And so they're too
change
close.
or like to that difference as well? Like when you pick fonts?
Yeah.
It's risky,
so,
right? You gotta know what you're doing.
Yeah. And the thing with this, which is important, is that any of these factors, they either have to be on point and the same, so like having the same X height, or they have to be extremely different. And I'll show you how
That
I
is
mean
like
with
home
that.
design, really.
Yeah, exactly. You want contrast. Contrast is the name of the game.
Yeah.
And so this one's like an okay one. We'll put this like over here. Move these guys out of the way. So this one, so if you look at the O, they are very similar.
Yes.
Has a high X height as well. So I don't know. What do you think about this one?
I don't hate it.
Yeah, I think it matches the proportions that you mentioned before, but it has a very different, there
It
is
has-
contrast there a lot.
There is.
Are you planning to
little
use that
bit.
for
The
display
skin
or
is
for
thinner.
like body? That's
So
another.
it could be body. So this one is just like this one is a monospace. This is very like code friendly, but I think this is really common right now. It's very on trend because
Yeah.
I don't know why, but
It's
Tumblr
nice.
really loves this one. I feel like all the Tumblr blogs
It's
like
clean,
this one.
easy
yeah.
to read.
Clean,
It
easy
has
to
a
read for
little of
sure.
that like machine feel to it, which I
Yeah,
think is
modern.
interesting. So we'll put this over here in the yay
Yeah.
category. How about this one?
So it's got the rounded geometric, and then the X height is quite high on this one. So
It's
maybe not the greatest.
It's not that interesting. It is nice, but it's not as like, it didn't like create a lot of like, oh, this is awesome. It's like it's an okay font.
Yeah.
It's nice, but it's not
You
like.
guys should
But in
weigh
terms
in
of
the
matching.
comments. Do we get a like for this one? Is this the right one?
And we're
do you
talking
guys
about
think? Yeah.
matching, so.
From a matchy,
Yeah.
not just like the general
Because
font.
the good thing about this one is because this one has such a quieter tone to it,
Yeah,
it
it
is
doesn't
very
compete
like
with-
static. It doesn't compete with
That's
this one,
right,
which is
yeah.
very
People
Yeah.
we got a couple likes. We
Yeah.
got a couple likes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
All right.
and it's not too different. It's kind of more like safe. You're
Yeah.
playing safe there. Yeah.
yeah, exactly. And this one's really interesting in that this one is really skinny. So
Yeah.
the O is very different from this
Yeah.
O,
Very different.
which is actually good because you can immediately your eye will notice that these are two different typefaces.
Oh, yeah.
Versus this one, your eye kind of has that moment of confusion.
It's almost like a stretch.
I actually quite like
version
this
of it.
one paired
Yes.
with this
Yeah.
because it is that radically different.
Yeah, I like that in terms of comparing, like
Yep.
going through your process. But there's a little alert in my head saying like, don't use that for body because
Yes.
it's gonna be very hard to read.
Exactly. Yeah,
This is
condensed
why I keep
faces
the
are
pros with
difficult.
me,
Yes.
yeah.
Absolutely.
Cool.
Very cool.
So that's matching two typefaces. Now we're going to put it all together. So what usually happens is, I don't know about YouTube, but I usually have some wireframes. These are just some ones that I created from the wireframing UI kit, actually.
Awesome.
So I just
You
modified
can
them
get for
slightly.
free if you go to File, get UI
yes.
kits,
Yeah,
Right.
show us where to
wireframes.
get those UI kits. Yeah, on wireframes.
Here.
And you can also click on more UI kits too. And you
Yes.
talking about the Wires UI kit and a
Yes.
sample typographic system that we're starting to build out here a little
Yes.
bit.
Yes.
All right.
And we have a sneak in a bit, so
Yes,
that's
stick
why
We
we're
around.
weren't going
back.
to let you down on the sneak, so that is why we made it work. Demian worked his tech
Yeah,
magic.
let's do
so
it.
This is when it all gets
All right.
put together.
It's gonna get good. Thank you for the love and patience.
Yeah.
All right, so very quickly, we're going to use all that hard work that we did, if you remember, and we're here, with matching this main typeface with these other faces. So we're going to turn this one into, oops, typing is fun. Let's make this black. And then, I don't know, do you want to pick, so one of these two, let's do...
So, like, in your professional design opinion, what would you have chosen? Like, other than mine and Damien's, like, random opinions on things.
Oh, I mean, it's very scientific. I mean, this is, like, the set that proportionally work.
Okay.
There's still, like, contrast. This is pretty heavy and
True.
high, you know.
Yeah.
So, but the typeface itself, like, is the right width. So there is a lot of science to type. It's not just, like, magic.
I
which
know,
is,
yeah.
So that could have
Yeah.
been, like,
In
technically
math,
like
a lot of
subhead,
math,
perhaps?
right? There's
Yeah.
a lot of geometry in math
Yep,
there, yeah.
absolutely. So let's be funky and make this one. Let's just pretend we're making, like, a science page.
Love it.
Yeah, and we'll turn this down a little bit. Again, squint test, so if you squint and see, you can definitely see immediately
it.
that these are two different typefaces.
Great.
And
great.
then let's just use,
And they work well together.
we can use the DIN condensed for this one. And maybe we'll make this a little bit bigger. So
Yeah, they got
like
centered
that, I
for
like
some
that.
reason.
This is looking very scientific.
yeah, it looks like a fancy little science magazine. And we can
both
go
in our
crazy and go-
approach and
Yes.
in our execution.
Yes. And so maybe we just do this so it sits a little bit in the background. I'm going a little instinctually with the type sizes just because I've done this 3 jillion times. But the other
It's true.
thing is I'll usually make the body text a little bit lighter just so it's a little easier to read so it's not super stark. But yeah, so you can start to see this is looking a little bit like...
And you've got a few typefaces going on here.
Yes.
Oh my
like,
God,
and
yeah,
this
there's
is
a lot
thing,
there,
Yes,
it's
yeah.
you do not have to go this extreme. You could even just pick one.
But they work
to
well
start.
together.
It works,
That's
it works.
based
It's
on
like she's
that
done this before or
analysis.
something.
Based on that analysis, yeah.
Yeah, but this is like the analysis works, and this is just like when you're putting into action. So we'll
Yeah.
make this a little lighter since it's a tag. We'll make sure this is
It's very small.
yes. So we're gonna boot it
That
just
would
a
not
little
pass
bit.
the squint test.
And the other thing too is when you have all caps that are small, one trick is to add a little air in there, and that makes them
Ooh.
immediately way more readable.
That does
I'm
make it
actually
more
gonna
readable.
add a little. Does this already have? Oh, this already has some. in
What's
there.
what's
That's
your
right, that's right.
suggestion on line height, like to separate
So
lines?
it's funny because in print, line height is like if for print you would probably want something like this, but of course online, because of like pixel display and everything, you want everything to be a little
Closer.
bigger. The other thing to know is depending on your grid system. Let's see if you have like a square grid here, a lot of people will have these be your baselines.
Got it.
And so you'll see here when you line them up, that's how they determine it, and then they'll actually backfill with what the correct
Oh, look at that.
typeface
It's so
is.
cool.
So it's like very neat and tidy.
Yeah.
Very neat and tidy.
But
I
yeah,
remember,
that's like one way of doing
I remember learning about the golden ratio. Like you could you get the font size and multiply it by 1.60618
Yes.
and then get the line height.
That's a
for
good-
readability.
guideline. With different typefaces, you'll have to adjust a little bit. Like this one's a little loose, so we'll put that one back in.
Oh, look at that! It's so nice now.
Yeah, see, it's very,
It's pretty.
it's very nice now.
Yeah.
It's
yeah.
readable. More. That's more
it's good
important
to
than
the
just
eye,
looking
that's
good.
important,
Like
it's
it's
really good.
actually functional, right? I think that's the key bit of all the work.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And what is funny about all of these too is like you can go very deep into typography and learning about all of this. A lot of it is just doing the exercises. But yeah, there's a lot of amazing books. I think like Robert Bringhurst has like this giant chunky book that's like when to use an M dash versus an N dash, if you even know what that is. And yeah, so if you really want to get into the rabbit hole, there's like a lot of resources.
It never ends.
So the great thing about doing this in XD is I can actually just add all these styles in here.
Look at that.
Actually, I'll just select them all at once.
Yeah, select plus. This is like actually one of those little known facts about XD is like you can actually select all of your artboards and click the plus sign on colors, character styles, and symbols, and it will automatically like populate those fields. It's a great way to find out if you have like rogue fonts or colors that maybe aren't obvious.
Variations of the same gray, like that. Human eye cannot catch. You can see, oh, this is not right.
Yeah, why have the same gray in there 5 times? Like, make it so it's part of your color palette and you can edit it really easily.
Look at that.
And then what's great now is you can just go ahead and apply these. What do we say? Monaco. And our body type was Nimbus. And so you can start to see these together. And of course you can like add a photo in there. But what's great is as you start putting these in here and seeing them across different pages, you can start to say, like, say we didn't like the way we're like, oh, this contrast is actually not that great. You can actually just go in here and edit that and say you wanted it to be bigger. Like, it would just edit everywhere.
That's so nice. You'll find all instances of that occurrence here in this document, and it'll replace everything for you.
But what's even more crazy about that, so here we have, we'll look at this as an example. Say you have this typeface, it's like Stolzel 18 white, and you see how it's across all these different instances, and they're not linked in any way, they're just the same typeface, and this is what you were talking about of like getting it all vacuumed up. If I just add this in here now, it's at the bottom. I didn't attach any of these instances in here yet, but if I go and edit this and change the color, you'll see it changes everywhere. So it's like a very, very like smart and easy way to manage type, and that's why
it's
been really cool to use it in XD.
And to find problems, right? It's so nice. Missing fonts, and it's like you never missed a little thing that would never find.
I've looked at a lot of UI kits lately, and this is like a great trick to finding those rogue fonts and things like that. So it's great.
Awesome. So
that's it.
Thank you very much. This is very, very informative.
Ash, while you've been working away, we've had some questions come in.
Okay, sense for them.
They're mostly about just XD as a project as a whole, but maybe we can collectively answer.
Absolutely.
Will Adobe XD work with Canvas Flip? Do we have any insights on this?
Oh, like the feature to flip objects?
Yeah,
that's in our backlog, and we're working on it, and it's going to land this year for sure. Yeah.
Demian, do we have an update on the new socks? I don't know, for those that tune in before, we showed some really sweet sock designs.
We have we had great socks with the previous logo.
We did.
And we now have like this rounded icon for XD.
You can actually see the history of our logo right up there.
And I heard there are new socks with the new logo.
The new logo.
Let us know if you want them. Maybe we can ship it to you. Maybe.
Are they in the office? I need to get a pair of these socks.
Yeah, they're here.
Oh,
they're here. They made it.
Maybe they'll make a guest appearance next week.
They're real.
The most special guest of all.
I don't know. Ash is pretty good, guys, but the socks might also make it next week. Any other questions that I'm seeing here? The dotted line feature. There's a workaround for that.
Yeah, ideally, like every time you can add to it if we can give your perspective, but ideally when you need more complex vector artwork, you go to Illustrator and you bring it to XD. You can copy and paste. You can bring it via Creative Cloud libraries. You can even bring it from different apps. Like last month, we announced that you can open Sketch and Photoshop files, and it's all there to help you. And we're working on the dashed stroke feature, but it'll take a little longer. But that's happening.
You can show quickly if you want to go around that. So you want a dotted line here, just quickly. So you can make a little dot. And you can also use repeat grid.
Look at that.
Repeat grid, that's true.
And there you go. So it's definitely like a workaround, but
doable.
You can do a little dotted line.
On the topic of dots, what about bulleted lists?
Yeah, that's also like we heard that a lot. If you really want more details on it or share your perspective there, please go to user voice, adobext.uservoice.com, and add your points to that feature. And I know that's we heard it, but I don't think it's being developed as we speak.
Cool.
But if it becomes a big one, we can look at it.
User voice, guys.
Yeah.
For those who are unfamiliar, adobeXD.uservoice.com is where you can go and add feature requests, log bugs, upvote existing feature requests. The team pays attention to it. They
Yes.
respond to things. There are a ton of entries on there right now, but so be sure to search whatever you want to add and like add some additional color and insights and use cases, and all of those things help.
Talking about that, I think this is a perfect segue for the sneak, if you're okay with that.
Yeah, I'm so.
All right.
Thank you for checking.
No, yeah, that's
Yes, we have a sneak for you.
yeah. So as you know, XD ships every month, and there's a new release coming in April. And talking about user voice, if you go in user voice, or if you talk to, let's say, enterprise customers, I think the number one feature request there is password protection on web prototypes. So every time you go to share your prototype, especially if you're working in this super secret project, you need to protect that using a password. So in April, our sneak is password protection. So if you, I don't know if Ash can show you that.
Yeah, so we definitely need to share these sweet couches with the world.
Yeah. We're about to get sneaky up in here.
So same as usual, you'll go and publish your prototype here. And now you'll notice there's a new password.
Do you like how it's optional?
Password.
I think I like that. I
Yeah.
like that a
Yeah.
lot, actually.
Yeah, and then of course there's a couple little things you have to do where it's like you have to be a certain length and contain certain characters. Well, let's just do like XD is it's constant awesome 0.
There we
You're going
go.
to remember this?
XD is
How
awesome
could you
0.
forget?
How could you forget?
Now that
Okay.
specific artboard is being uploaded to the cloud, and you can share that with
Yeah.
your.
Ooh, secrets.
All
Alright,
the
so we're just
secrets.
gonna open this.
And it's
Oh,
gonna,
wait for it. Let's see. Does she remember the password?
Do I? XD is awesome. Oh my god, I'm scared now. You guys.
I know, right? The pressure.
There we go.
Let her
Look at
in.
that.
The couches will
Good.
prevail.
Yes. So now it's all here for
It's there. It's there.
Yes.
preserved in
So
history.
there's your sneak, folks. As we said, it's coming soon.
So again, listening to your feedback, password protection, coming in April,
Sweet.
very soon,
All
right?
right, so you guys learned a whole bunch of stuff about fonts. We might have mentioned that there may be a new UI kit coming this week, and there may be a supporting design challenge happening that you might want to look at Wednesday morning at 6 a.m. Pacific time.
Yes.
We gave a sneak to a feature that's being released very soon, and if you didn't get your fill of the XD-related live stream goodness today, the good news is we are kicking off a 3-day live streaming event starting tomorrow at 9 a.m. Pacific time. 3 days, a whole bunch of people. I will be hosting
Oh, that's
for
awesome.
technically the first time for the full 3 days. I've done like a
It's a lot of
cameo
fun.
appearance on
It's
there.
a lot of fun.
Should
You'll
be
like
good.
it, yeah.
So you guys can catch me
That's right, sure.
with Lena Wu from 3 to 5 p.m. Pacific time,
nice.
Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. I'm very excited. So, yes.
Awesome. And keep your
And a
feedback
whole bunch of
coming.
others. I'm just
Yeah, it's a full day, right?
I'm just
Like,
there for the dad
yeah.
jokes, right? So
So it's
That is an important job.
it's really good.
eight,
It's really
eight
good.
hours per day. So thank you very much,
Oh, of
Ash,
course.
for,
Thanks
for
for
showing
having me.
all of this. And yeah, so I think that's it for today.
There's one thing we should address because
What?
there was a couple questions that came up around animations.
Okay.
The 2018 is the year of prototyping in Adobe
Yes.
XD. Micro animations, micro interactions.
We call it micro interactions. Yeah, if you want to stay tuned on that, you can go to User Voice
User
and
voice.
upvote there, and then you subscribe to that feature. So anytime we change that status, let's say from feature in the backlog to feature started or feature completed, you get an email and you can stay updated there.
Thank you to the brilliant Ash for joining
Yes,
us today and teaching
thank
us a few
you,
things.
thank you.
Hamburger Vons.
Hamburger Vons.
Hamburger Vons is now my favorite word ever. I just need to remember it. If you liked what you saw today, give us a like or a share, and we will be back next Monday.
Awesome. Thanks, guys.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Cheers.